Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is the Blockchain Backer bringing you the latest cryptocurrency news and analysis. And today we're going to take a look at a variety of charts, including this XRP chart that I have right here. Of course, we're going to look at Bitcoin and we're going to look at a couple of different altcoin charts because we're going to kind of build on top of what we talked on Monday on how we were picking out different targets for XRP based on historical data and how the market actually moved with those Fibonacci retracements or Fibonacci extension levels to forecast where prices went. I've spent the last 48 hours looking around on all the charts to see if I could apply that same strategy to other altcoins in the past and figure out how did all of that work, right? When we had an actual alt season, then when alt season turned off and then Bitcoin went on its rampage, could we have pinpointed that specific time in order to say, okay, that's the end of alt season. Now it's time to just hang out in Bitcoin, let Bitcoin do its thing for a while, and then figuring out where is Bitcoin going to actually top at so we can get back into the altcoins and have that alt season that happens again at the end of the Bitcoin bull market. So I'm going to show you a couple of things. First, we'll take a look at this XRP chart that I have right here in front of me. Obviously, the big thing that we're doing right now is we're battling up against the 200-day moving average. I don't know if we're going to actually clear through it right now. In the past, we have seen that it could actually come back down and touch this low right down here and just double check that again. It may not, but it may. So if it does come back down into this 18-cent region, I would not be panicking over anything like that. That would seem like it would be normal to me before it went back and took a second stab at clearing through it, building a base on it, and then going. So no worries here. We're just going to see if it's going to actually get through right now. But that's really just kind of a short-term look at XRP. Now we're going to go back and look at what we saw in the past. This is just a really quick recap, and it's all building based on this, right? We were able to pinpoint this particular move right here based on the rally that happened before Bitcoin capitulated in the 2014 bear market. So XRP had a big rally right here before Bitcoin capitulated. So I decided to take a look at Litecoin, right? So Litecoin's been around since that time. What happened with Litecoin before Bitcoin capitulated? Well, here is where Litecoin was, right? So I was like, okay, well, let's measure this out right here and let's see if it like, applies to anything on this chart too. So I did the exact same thing. I measured the 0.236 at the top of this rally way down here, down to the bottom right here. And sure enough, it actually showed us where the top was right here for Litecoin. All right, so Litecoin reached out and hit this extension target right here on September 1st. So let's look at the Litecoin Bitcoin chart, this one. And if we go to September 1st of 2017, you could see that the top of Litecoin was right here on September 1st, 2017, before it really broke down and went all the way down here. So you could see at this exact moment on September 1st, it would have been a smart idea to swap out of your Litecoin and get into Bitcoin to avoid it falling from 0.0187 all the way down to 0.0055. If you would have swapped into Bitcoin on September 1st, 2017, which was the extension of the move all the way up to here based on the small rally that happened before Bitcoin capitulated, right? So same thing happened with XRP. If we would have swapped out of XRP on May 16th of 2017, you would have sold the very top of the XRP Bitcoin chart and avoided this entire fall all the way down. So then I've been looking over here at the Bitcoin chart thinking, okay, well, how are we going to apply any of this to figure out how high is Bitcoin going to actually go? We've done lots of different things and strategies with like Fibonacci retracements and just measuring moves and everything. And everybody's got their own opinion, right? We've seen 60,000, 100,000, 300,000, a million, 10 million, doesn't matter. They're all over the place. And for me, I'm always so like data driven. It's got to be something that mathematically makes sense to me. And I've got to see evidence of something like that happening on the chart in the past. So if we can measure a move out and it also has other indicators or other things on the chart that give it credentials, then hey, I'm cool with it. So for me, I've been looking a lot at these past fractals. It's like, okay, well, this move right here looks almost the exact same size as this move from here to here. And then this move right here was actually much shorter than this one right here. And let me just apply these to right here for you. And you could see it. So what I've done is I've taken this fractal and put it right here. And you could see exactly these things were perfect. Look at how it nailed it right on the head. This is the exact same fractal from right here. And it reached out and hit it completely perfectly. Now let me take that line off the chart. We'll move over here. So now what I've done is I've taken this fractal and put it right here. And you can see that it actually got stopped out early. It never reached out as far. But when we look at like the tops of right here, you can see that it came up and got very close to finding the same tops and bottoms as it did in the past fractal. Kind of like this was a huge resistance zone back here that we're also finding right here. And it's like, okay, well, the fractal takes us all the way out there. So how do we get there, right? So I'm like, okay, well, let me just put on a Fibonacci extension like that. No, it doesn't get us to reach out there. If I put one up here like this, nope, it doesn't work like that either. But then, we've been talking about what about this little rally that happened right before the capitulation when we aligned the 0.236 and the bottom and it somehow reaches out to our targets. Well, let's do it here too. Right there, the rally that happened before the capitulation to the bottom somehow magically gets us to reach out to exactly where that target is for the last fractal, which we have seen that Bitcoin does somehow reach out the same percentage moves as it does in the past. So in my belief, it's not that we're actually going to start a whole new big cycle. It's just that we still have this portion of the cycle left to get us up to here. And that would be the end of the rally, which would put Bitcoin somewhere between, if I have to give a broad range, I can't give you an exact target. I mean, that looks like almost 100,000, but I would say somewhere between that 80 and $100,000 price zone is where that target would be at the top for the Bitcoin run. And so then we ask ourselves, all right, so what about altcoins? This is great. This is for Bitcoin, whatever. Well, if you were here in 2017, and a lot of people came in at the very, very end of it, but for those who weren't here in 2017, there were different parts of the bull market that had its like own defining moments. And one of the big moments was the alt season that lasted from like March through June, and then the Bitcoin run that went from like July all the way to the end of the year, and then the altcoin season that happened again in December. So there's really like three big bull markets. But if you only stayed in altcoins, or if you chased the altcoins at the top in May and June, then you were suffering for a long time because the alts went completely dormant from June all the way to December, while Bitcoin was on a big run. So it's kind of like they behave a little bit differently. And the optimal way to have played 2017 when we go back and look into the past was that you should have been in altcoins in the very beginning, gotten out of the altcoins, hung out in Bitcoin for the remainder of the bull run, and then at the end of the bull run, swapped on over to the altcoins. So, as I always say, this is not financial advice. I'm not an investment advisor, all that good stuff. You need to do your own research and make your own decisions. But for me, when I'm looking at this, I'm saying to myself, look, it's clearly obvious to me the altcoins are the place to be right now. In the past, the alt season began when Bitcoin was butting its head up against the all-time high. Is Bitcoin at the all-time high? No, it actually would get like a 100% gain in price if it went to the all-time high right now, and the altcoins would do nothing. But we don't know for certain if it was actually testing the all-time high or breaking the all-time high that caused the altcoins to break out. It's suspected that's what caused it, but we don't know with certainty. And for me, I'm willing to miss out on that little 100%, listen to me, little 100%, but to miss out on that 100% gain knowing what the targets are for the altcoins. They are significantly higher. Bitcoin only has about a 1,000% gain left in it based on this strategy before it reaches its top and it's over. XRP has about 5,000% before it hits that like $10 to $11 region and gets a big knockback. Stellar Lumens has like a 6,800% gain left on it. Ethereum has 1,400. Now, I'm not saying these are like the permanent tops for these coins either. I'm just saying this seems to be, based on the past and what we've seen how the market behaves, this would be the optimal time to switch over to Bitcoin and ride Bitcoin for the remainder of the Bitcoin bull run until it gets to the very end, things start getting very parabolic, and then it would be time to swap back into the altcoins. Obviously, we have a lot of work ahead of us before we can ever really start considering any of this to be accurate at all. For right now, XRP hasn't even set a new local high. We are still at a lower high compared to the past. We have a lot of work to do before we can start saying, let's pick out the targets. Let's say this is the strategy. Again, I'm just going to be sharing with you the things that I do when the time comes. Whether or not they're right, we'll all find out at that time. But I've always said that I'm an accumulator down here at these low prices because I see this on the chart. I see what's coming. I see the way the world's changing. I see that the United States is trying to implement, a banking for all act. I see how international wire transfers are horrible and that we still use that technology, and that needs to change. I see that money is printing like crazy with no care for any of the repercussions of what's coming. So I look for an optimistic future here in the digital asset market, and I look for those prices and those strategies of how I'm going to handle it all when the time comes. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this content. I want to thank you so much for watching. Please follow me over here on Twitter at BCBacker. Please like this video and give it a thumbs up. I really appreciate it. I can't believe how many thumbs up my video on Monday got. I think when I checked it a little while ago, it was over 2,000, which is by far and away a record for my channel. I want to thank you all for doing that. I appreciate it. If you're not subscribed to my channel, please subscribe. That way you could be notified of when I create new content and when I go live. As always, this is not investment advice and I am not a financial advisor. But if you ever need a pick me up or a little bit of reassurance, just remember that the blockchain backers got your back. Have a good one.